I'm going to teach you how to make a solid background on Capcut. I have the perfect fix and I want to share with you. This video is going to be divided into two parts. The first part will consist of how to make a solid background. The second part is going to take it up a notch and it's going to teach you how to design a simple motion system for the solid background that you have created. My name is Sheyi Adigbaye Isaac, for short that is Sai, but people often call me Director Sai. Welcome to my YouTube channel where I teach you how to edit videos on any editing application. Don't forget to like, share and subscribe and turn on the notification bell so you can get updates on new videos. Now we're going to get into part 1 of the video, which is making solid background. Let's dive in. Alright, so to get started on creating a solid color in Capcut, the first thing we have to do is to get a PNG, and you'll see later why in the video. So the website I usually use to get my PNG is pngwing.com. So I just go into Google and type pngwing.com. So I would literally go into this site and download any PNG at all. And you can see when you open the site, there's this water PNG. I'm just going to download it. It's going to ask you to authenticate. Just make sure you click the alphabets in the order here: 5 N P S. Now once your download is done, the next thing you want to do is to open Capcut. Now for the sake of this tutorial, I've opened a new project. Now that I have my PNG downloaded and I have Capcut open, I'm going to drag and drop my PNG into the import tab. Once I have this PNG that I downloaded online imported, the next thing I want to do is to bring this PNG into my timeline. Guys, it's really important that this PNG is on the first layer. And the reason is because if it's not on the first layer, you're not going to have this option for canvas. And this right here is where all the source is. But before I do that, I'm going to change my aspect ratio back to 16:9, just because the PNG that I brought in adapted into the timeline's aspect ratio. So I'm going to change it back to 16:9. Now the next thing you want to do to create a solid layer is to go into video and reduce the scale. You want to make it as small as possible. For me, I'm going to use 30 or about 28. Now the next thing you want to do is to scroll down into canvas, enable the drop down panel and click on color. Now when you click on color, you have all these options for colors and you can literally pick any color you want. Now say perhaps you have a brand that you're working with and they have a brand color. Now what you need to do is to just click on this rainbow color and it's going to bring out the hex. If you're going to do the X or the RGB, you just input the numbers in here. But for the sake of this tutorial, I'm going to use the color blue. Now, you can see that on my screen, the color blue has appeared. The next thing you want to do now, guys, is to move this PNG out the way because you no longer need it. If you move it out the way, it still hasn't registered. And the way to know it hasn't registered is if you move it to another layer, it turns completely black. So what you really need to do is, and I'm going to bring it back into that first layer. What you really need to do is after you move the PNG out the way, the next thing you want to do is right click and create a compound clip. Now guys, once it's a compound clip, you can see that the icon here changed to completely blue and you can move it to any layer and it registers. It still registers as blue. Now this is how to completely make a solid color in Capcut. If you've watched this video up until this point, it means this video is valuable to you. And I think that if it's valuable to you, it can be valuable to others. And the way to help others find this video is to hit the thumbs up button just below this video. Now we'll be getting to the second part of this video, which is designing a motion system for the solid background that you have created. Let's dive into it. I'm going to show you how to do a simple animation on this background. The first thing we want to do, coming from where we stopped, is I'm going to press Ctrl Z, and that is going to take me back to when it wasn't a compound clip. Now we can see that this changed back into the WhatsApp icon. Now the next thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to duplicate this particular background into 2. So now there's another background that I've created. Both are blue. But guys, I want to change the color of this to white. So I'm going to go into canvas and click on white. And you can see now, guys, we have blue and we have white on two separate backgrounds. Now the next thing I want to do is to individually convert these into compound clips. And I'm going to disable my main track magnet here just so that I can separate them properly. And I'm going to convert this into a compound clip, and I'm also going to convert this into a compound clip just to make sure that we can move them into any layer. Now for the motion system that we're going to be designing here, it has to do with a simple animation where the white comes in first and then the blue follows it, or the blue comes in first and then white follows it. We'll see which one. So the first thing you want to do now is to completely select both of them and go into the player panel and shift them halfway this way. Exactly. Now the next thing you want to do is to click on only the white layer, add a global keyframe at the beginning, and move about 1 second in. And then now guys, you want to click on the player and drag while holding shift so that it doesn't go off. Now you see, if I'm holding shift, it doesn't go off this horizontal line that I'm dragging it on. But if I don't hold shift, you can see it really gets messy. So I'm going to hold shift. I'm going to hold shift while dragging just to maintain that line. Now, what does this mean for us, guys? It means that within 1 second, the white is going to go to the end. The white solid layer is going to get to the end. Now, the next thing that I want to do is to make sure that the blue layer comes up, but I'm going to completely hide the blue layer off screen. Now, when I notice that the white layer, which is the one below now, is here, the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to click on the blue layer and come to transform, add a global keyframe not far from where the white background animation ends, and I'm going to move further down a bit. I'm going to animate the blue one while holding shift again to come halfway. Now we're going to see what this means in a second, and I'm just going to shift this keyframe from here a bit. When we play this back, we see that in 1 second the white is there and the blue follows, but we need to animate this blue to the end. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come back to this keyframe and I'm going to hold shift and I'm going to move this to the end. Now, what does this mean? We have this simple animation that moves such as this, but I think that the white is really slow. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make the blue come forward faster by moving the keyframe here and moving the second keyframe further back. Now, if we compare both of them, we see that they are almost ending at the same time. Now, if we play this back, we have something like this. I'm going to move the white further back again. If we play this back, we have something like this. And now you see, guys, as the white and the blue background comes in, they complement each other. All right, so at this point, what we want to do is to edit the keyframes so that the animations are more smoother. Now, on the white layer, I'm going to right click on it and I'm going to click show keyframe animation. Now, guys, when I come here, I'm going to click on the x-axis. Now, guys, let me explain this. The x-axis is this way and the y-axis is this way. And why is that? In the world that we work in, we have 3 axes, x, y, and z, right? If you're working in any 3D application, you have the z-axis, but for something like Capcut or Premiere Pro, you have just the x and y-axis. And the x-axis flows this way, and the y-axis flows from top to bottom. The x-axis flows from left to right or right to left. Now guys, since our animation is moving from left to right, we're going to primarily only be working on the x-axis. Now that we've dropped down the x-axis, the next thing that we want to do is to make sure that we come to the end of it and we drop this down, show keyframe graphs. Now when we drop this down, you can then select these keyframes and then come here and click auto curve. Now come into the second keyframe as well and click auto curve. Now guys, you can see what has happened. It has given us weighted tangents that we can work with. Now what do these weighted tangents do? They help with making the animation more smoother. How do I mean by more smoother? In later videos, I'm going to cover what easing in and easing out is. But for the sake of this video, let's just click on this and make the animation faster. And the way to do that is I'm going to reduce this. I'm going to increase this. I'm going to reduce this so that it flows faster. Now, guys, when we look at the white animation, see how it flows. It flows in a different way. Now we have this very fluid motion happening, and I'm just going to increase it back just a bit. And for the end, I'm just going to bring it further back a bit. Now, guys, I'm noticing that the timing is a little bit weird for the white one. It's such a short time. So I'm going to move the timing just a bit. And now we have this fluid animation happening. Now we need to also make the blue one fluid. And we're going to do the same process. But before then, let's hide this. Let's right click and hide keyframe animation for the white one. Now we're going to go into the blue one, right click, show keyframe animation. Now guys, remember we're only working on the x-axis, and we're going to go to this drop down and click show keyframe graphs. Now guys, we're going to repeat that process. Select this, the first keyframe, click on auto curve, select the second, click on auto curve. When we come back to the first one, we want to give it that weighted tangent fill. So we're just going to drag this back a bit, and we're going to drag this forward a bit. Now guys, when we play back, we have this fluid animation happening. Just take a look at that, guys. Just take a look at that. It looks like a slide from PowerPoint, but it is very fluid compared to where we started. Now guys, to make this motion system even more cool, we would need more layers of colors. But since we already have this white and blue here, I would say the best way to go about it is to layer them on top of each other. And so the first thing I'm going to do is to hide the keyframe animation here, select both of them, hold Alt on my keyboard, and drag them up. Now guys, see, the blue and the white have been duplicated divinely. The next thing we want to do now is to move the blue and the white, the new blue and the white animation just about 35 milliseconds forward. Now guys, if we play back this, you would see how they flow into each other. But you can see that it's not perfect. The white is overlapping with the previous blue. So we want to move it forward some more to give it that space. Now when we hit play, we can see that we can see how it's moving. But there's an overlap here. And the reason why there's an overlap here is that when we created this white animation, it started from the middle. So we need to correct that by clicking on this third layer, which is the second white, clicking on this animation button right here at the beginning and moving it down to the beginning where it is not obvious. Now guys, if we play this back, it should be perfect. Now guys, this is amazing. This is definitely good if you want to use this for like a course. You want to use this for like perhaps you're editing a course, you're editing a webinar. We can go take this further down by adding text to it. Come to the text layer and we drag down this text, and let's just put the default text there and say director Sai. Now just check this out guys. I'm going to play it back and just look how cool that is. So even take it up a notch, I can add some animations on this text and just make sure that the text comes up when all the backgrounds are done. And now guys, I just noticed something. I noticed that the end background is white. So what we need to do now is to make sure that this layer comes down so that the end background is blue. Now that I have this text here, I can take this up a notch by adding an animation to the text, and I could just add showing up as an in and add sunset as an out. If we come to the end of the backgrounds, we can all just line this up here so that they are all uniform. Now if we play this back guys, this is amazing. How about that? Now we have come to the end of this video. Do not forget to like, share, and subscribe. And if this video was useful to you, don't forget to turn on the notification bell so you can get updates on any new video I post on this channel.